By now, unless you're living under a rock, then you know that Bernie Sanders had a phenomenal first day after he announced that he's running for president again in 2020 because he raised $6 million within the first 24 hours. And he signed up hundreds of thousands of people to volunteer for him. So that essentially sent shockwaves through the establishment because they kept telling us, well, you know, Bernie Sanders, he lost his 2016 mojo and there's no longer a there, and his supporters probably won't be there for him this time around. But he just proved all of them wrong. So we know that the first 24 hours, which was really important, was a gigantic success for Bernie Sanders. However, now we know how he did within the first week. And the numbers are absolutely astonishing and even better than I could have hoped for or expected they would be. Because overall, as the New York Times reports, he managed to raise $10 million within the first week. Now, he also just surpassed Joe Biden when it comes to polling in New Hampshire and also got a substantial boost nationally. And most importantly, this is huge for him, he expanded his support base substantially because 40% of his total donations came from brand new supporters. Let me repeat that. 40% of donations that Bernie Sanders got came from new donors.
Back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me. Back then they didn't want me, now I'm hot, they all on me.
That right there is the most important indicator because it shows that Bernie Sanders isn't just getting the crew back together, but he is amassing an even larger following. So I don't know if any of you watched Mighty Ducks 2. It was one of my favorite movies as a child, but it kind of opens with, the coach telling the main kid, I forgot his name, to get the crew back together, and he goes skating around to get the team back together. But then, later on in the movie, they get a bunch of new teammates. That's what it reminded me of. The team's back together, but now we have even more people. His support base has grown. And to see that it grew by 40%, that is just amazing. Now, additionally, as Michael Burke of The Hill reports, there are also more than 48,000 donors who have agreed to give Sanders recurring donations. Those recurring donations will be worth more than $1 million in total per month, the Times reported, citing statistics provided by the Sanders campaign. According to the Times, the average contribution was less than $26. Now that's also really important because these recurring donations for candidates, it means that they can actually plan, they can invest in certain states, and it's extremely beneficial. But the fact that he has more than $1 million per month just so far within the first week, again, it's great. Now, on top of that, he has assembled a massive grassroots organizing machine, and I'm going to let him just make the announcement because his goal was 1 million people signing up to volunteer. Here's what he has to say about that.
Hey everybody, I am happy to tell you that today we have reached an historic threshold in our 2020 campaign. Less than 1 week after we began this campaign, we now have 1 million volunteers in every congressional district in this country who are prepared to roll up their sleeves and get to work to make sure that we win the Democratic nomination, that we defeat Trump, and that we transform the economic and political life of our country. I think all of you understand that when we talk about health care for all, when we talk about raising the minimum wage, when we talk about combating climate change, we are taking on enormously powerful special interests. You know who they are. We're talking about Wall Street. We're talking about the healthcare industry. We're talking about the fossil fuel industry. We're talking about the pharmaceutical companies. We're talking about the military industrial complex, the private prison industry. These are really powerful guys. They have unlimited amounts of money and a lot of political muscle in Washington. And the only way I know that we defeat them is when millions of people at the grassroots level stand up and fight back and demand a government and an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. So let me thank the 1 million people who have already signed on. And let me ask those of you who haven't signed on, come on board. This is going to be an historic campaign, and we are going to make history. So thank you all very much. Talk to you soon.
That is huge. 1 million grassroots volunteers, people in every single congressional district. That makes Bernie Sanders a formidable candidate. So make no mistake about it, he is the front runner. He's the one to beat. But with that being said, he's still kind of an underdog, because since the establishment, collectively, the media, political elites, see what he's doing, they're going to work even harder to crush him. And there are comments I've seen, just from various Reddit posts and on Twitter of people saying maybe it's the case that since Joe Biden is polling the highest among all of the other corporate Democrats, the establishment just collectively gets behind him in order to stop Bernie. I kind of find that persuasive, but at the same time, Joe Biden is such a horrible candidate that I can't really see him getting as big of a boost as Bernie. It's very clear he's probably going to run, and I expect him to kind of get a boost. But after that, I really kind of feel as if it will likely be the case that Joe Biden just goes downhill after he announces. But we'll have to see. But by and large, the fact that he is such a force in the beginning of the race, that just proves to us that we can't become complacent. We have to work that much harder because they're going to be that much more afraid, and consequentially, they're going to try to do what they can. We're already seeing nonstop smears and hit pieces in the media. Ex-Clinton staffers being quoted attacking him for taking private jets in order to attack his credibility directly, to say that he's not a man of the people and maybe he's more elitist than he's leading on. You see Politico and Fox News trying to use these arguments that, you can't possibly be in favor of stopping climate change if you are taking private jets around the country. We're going to see everything to downplay Bernie Sanders. We're going to see attacks and smears on Bernie Sanders. But understand, whenever they go low, as I think a meme said on Twitter, we go knock on doors. That's what we have to do. We have to work that much harder. So this is phenomenal news. And when I tell you this news, I want to stress that I am not telling you that we don't have to work hard. We have to work our asses off. The victory isn't just going to come to us. So we have to work hard, but at the same time acknowledge that we actually have a chance this time. Bernie Sanders can win not just the Democratic Party primary, he can win the White House. And that's when the work will really begin, but first we have to make sure he gets elected. And what we're seeing are really good signs. So I am thoroughly impressed by Bernie Sanders. He outperforms my expectations. And I really hope that the momentum continues, and I am anxious to see how he performs at debates. It's clear that he is really tightening his message, making it more concise, more clear, and I'm excited. So let's do this. I'm feeling the burn, and I know that you guys are too.
Mike is a total loser, so don't hit the subscribe button, okay? And whatever you do, folks, do not hit the notification bell either. Mike treats me so unfairly.